Today's book is Textilepedia by Fashionary. The book itself is a really nice size, small enough that you could take with you as a reference book, but large enough that you're still going to be able to see everything you need to see. The jacket is covered in fabric, nice kind of textured linen. And the text on the front here is actually embroidered on, and so it's actually raised to the touch. You can see the spine of the book here. And then when you get it, the back has a little fabric insert that kind of tells you what to expect on the inside. And then we can just go ahead and remove that. The pages are this really nice kind of cobalt blue. And you can again see how nice and bright the pages are. They're very thick, very good quality with a sheen to them. The book itself is organized quite nicely. So it starts off with a little introductory section about fabrics in general, their fibers, and care and maintenance. And then goes into a chapter on the type of fibers. So categorized in terms of plant, animal, regenerated, and synthetic based, with then the details underneath there, such as cotton, flax under plant fiber, cashmere, wool, camel hair, etc. under animal fiber, regenerated, rayon, and acetate, and then polyester, nylon, etc. under synthetic. And then it actually gives you a nice little way to compare and identify fabric fibers as well. The subsequent chapters are moving on from fibers in terms of how the fabric is created. So there's a whole chapter on yarn and the different types of yarn and how yarn is created and processed. Chapter 3 is all about weave, so different types of woven fabric and how to identify them. Then we have knits, lace and netting, non-woven and felted, hides for leather fibers, different types of finishings, so whether that's dyeing, sizing, different types of naps and brushes, wrinkle resistance, all of that kind of stuff. And then a chapter on patterns, motifs, and colors. As for the content itself, I'll just give a couple of examples here for kind of each one of the different sections. So we're in the fiber chapter in the plant section, and we're looking at the page on cotton. So you can see for each one of these, they give a nice visual of what the fiber looks like before it's processed. It gives the care instructions down here as well. And then for each one of these fibers, it gives a description of it, a little bit of history and background, how it's manufactured, and then even the potential impact of it as far as environmental and economic factors. It gives you characteristics of it, and then how it's graded or classed. So really nice overview of each one of these types of fibers. And the visual references here are really quite detailed. So even though it doesn't have, a sample of the fiber itself, you get a really good sense for the texture and the properties of the fiber. So I'm just going to flip through here to the next chapter, which is yarns. So it defines what a yarn is. It's a spun fiber. And then you can see they go into detail on how the different types of yarns are spun, the characteristics that you get in the yarn from each one of these different methods. It gives weight, systems of measurement, right? All this really kind of technical information with visuals to help you understand what they're talking about. And again, the images that you get here are quite detailed and really give a good sense for what something would feel like in your hand. The section on weaves is similar, so defining the different types of weaves, going into the technicalities of how it's made. And I really love this section because I've heard, these different terms used like chiffon, georgette, crepe de chine, crepe-on, right? You hear these terms used in sewing all the time, but it's really hard to know what makes a fabric qualify as one of these types. And to really understand the way that the fiber is woven and the properties that it has due to the way that it's woven, all laid out in such an organized fashion like this, is really nice. And something else that I love that they've done here is they've included common applications for each one of these fabrics. So not only do you get a sense of the property of the fabric itself, but you also get an idea for what types of garments it would be good to use in. Again, the visuals here are stunning, very heavy on the detail of the texture, so you really get a sense for how that fabric is going to behave, which is something that is so valuable when you're talking about buying fabric online, as I often have to do. The next section is knits. Again, starts off with some technical diagrams of the different types and methods of knitting. The book comes with a nice little placeholder here. And then again, similar types of information in the knit session as far as common applications of the types of knits and characteristics of each one. The lace and netting section is also really interesting. Lace is not something that I have a huge base of knowledge on, and so to get these visual examples of the lace, as well as the description of what defines each type of lace and the name, will, I think, really help me with search terms when I'm trying to find lace for my projects. Because right now I just kind of search lace and hope that I come up with something that looks nice. But now I can actually know the proper search term and hopefully get a lot better, more accurate results. Here, this is kind of cool, a timeline of the different types of laces used all the way going back to 1600s. So especially relevant for us historical costumers. Going into non-woven and felting. Again, the technical diagrams here of how the process comes about. Hides. This section, I'm really excited to take a deep dive into the finishings. So the different types of dyes, how dyeing works, you know, in a general broad sense, how things are printed, and then the definitions for, you know, these different types of finishings. And just having more knowledge about these types of fabrics, I think is going to make me a lot more confident, both shopping online but also going into a fabric store. When I can feel a fabric and see it and know what type of treatment has been done to it, how it's going to behave, how it's going to act, I think it's really going to allow me to make more appropriate choices. And then lastly, they have examples of different types of prints and colors. And then really nicely in the back, they have a list of fabric providers. So online choices of places that you can go to find fabric, which I think is really nicely. I mean, I think we've all probably heard of Mood Fabrics, but I don't think I've heard of any of these other ones. So I'm excited to kind of go and check these out and see if they have any good things for historical costuming. Overall, I would say this book is well worth the money. I'm really impressed with the quality, both of the book itself and also of the information presented inside of it. So I would highly recommend this Textilepedia book, especially if you're not wanting to get into the price range required to buy a book that has actual real swatches in it. I think the pictures that are presented in this book are the closest you're going to get without having a real swatch. So highly recommend this one to all of you guys. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more content about historical costuming, please do hit the subscribe button. At the time of this recording, about 85% of my viewers are not subscribed. So if that is you and you're interested in watching more of my videos, please hit the subscribe button. It actually really helps me out a lot as a creator. I'll see you next time.